An estimated 1 in 100 children in the world have autism, and yet there are still a number of misconceptions about the disorder. We debunk some of them this Autism Consciousness Week with Developmental Pediatrician Dr. Florita Dela Cruz. Doc, thank you so much for joining us. Please explain to us autism as a spectrum.
Yes, thank you, Sir Rico, for the invitation. Good evening, everyone. The word autism itself comes from the Greek word autos, which means self, and it describes conditions in which a person is removed from social interaction. In other words, he becomes an isolated self. And autism is diagnosed on a spectrum, meaning no two people are the same. Every person with autism spectrum disorder is unique because each person can have a different age of onset or detection or diagnosis, which means not only young children can be diagnosed with autism, but adolescents and adults as well.
But Doc, what are the main symptoms of autism?
Yes, we have the different core symptoms of autism based on the DSM-5 criteria. The way we diagnose them, there should be persistent deficits in social communication and social interaction. For example, Sir Rico, for younger kids, this can be in a form of inconsistent eye contact, limited or absent responsive smiling. The joint attention also can be lacking. But for older kids with higher abilities, it can be in the terms of difficulty establishing interpersonal relationships. Sometimes they also have unusual tone of speech or presented as one-sided conversation. Another one of the core symptoms would be the presence of restricted or repetitive patterns of behavior, interest or activities. This may be fixed pattern or insistence of sameness. So again, for younger kids, this can be presented as stereotype repetitive movements like hand flapping, finger flicking, body rocking, body spinning. We also have repetitive speech, and we also have unusual sensory interest. This can be in a form of atypical visual inspection, lateral eye gazing, and what we call hyperreactivity or hyporeactivity to stimuli.
And what is the earliest age for a child, Doc? Can autism be diagnosed?
Yes, Sir Rico, very important question. Usually, autism, the signs and symptoms, this is considered under neurodevelopmental disorder. It can be seen early childhood, most of the time before entrance to grade school. As early as 6 months, you can already see the red flags for autism.
And what are the common misconceptions, Doc, about autism?
Yes, we have a lot of misconceptions. Let me begin with the vaccine-related issue, Sir Rico. In 1998, a vaccine was associated with development of autism, but fortunately it was debunked already. Probably it's because the signs and symptoms, the peak of the signs and symptoms, the recognition would coincide with the date of administration of that certain vaccine. So it's not true. It's a myth.
And basically, Doc, how important is it knowing the needs of someone with autism and the importance of support groups?
Yes, it is very important for us to acknowledge the needs of individuals with autism for us to be able to provide the appropriate support that they need. Autism affects people differently, with some individuals being able to live independently, while others will need very intensive support. You know, living with autism can be very daunting for families and with all the difficulties and challenges that it entails. So support groups will enable parents, not only the individual with autism, to share information with one another. And families need a good network of support. And this may allow the parents to vent also their frustration, to share their different milestones. And these groups, it is through these groups that parents can get to hear about training workshops, school services, as well as attend events that may be beneficial, including social outings or social inclusion.
And Doc, finally, as we celebrate Autism Consciousness Week. How important is it to raise awareness on this neurological disorder?
Yes. For me, when public awareness is strong, individuals will be more well informed on symptoms. And earliest age of diagnosis, interventions or therapies that will be useful may be of maximum importance in order to develop the potentials of individuals with autism. Greater awareness would lead to better understanding, not only for autism spectrum, but also to rest of the neurodevelopmental disorders.
And we also have to, of course, raise this issue that despite their condition, people with autism can still be productive and contribute to society.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word, Developmental Pediatrician Dr. Florita Dela Cruz. And you can get more health tips on Med Talk Health Talk, hosted by Dr. Freddy Gomez, airing weekdays at 3:30 in the afternoon.